Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Be the Media Huntington. Tonight is Wednesday, October 24th. My name is Jenny Lee, and tonight I have with me Miss Dana.
Hi, guys.
Welcome to Be the Media Huntington. Tonight is Wednesday. Something October is playing 24th. In the background. My name is Jenny Lee, and tonight I have with me Miss Dana. Welcome to Be the Media Huntington. And Miss Lisa. Let's try that again.
Hi, everyone.
We don't get to do this over. This is a live show and straight out gate. Boom, boom, boom. Oh, boy. Okay, so hi, everybody.
Howdy, guys.
We have Dana.
Hi, again.
And we have Lisa. And
Hi.
then we have my sorry self. Okay. So we wanted to, last week, we did some coverage on the Golden Dolphin owner, which had been floating around on Facebook. So if you want to go back and review last week's episode, but he had his day in court. Lisa, you want to give us a follow-up on that?
Oh, he didn't have his day in court yet. They adjourned it. Of course. Lawyers love to do that. Lawyers love to adjourn. It's like it's part of the thing. So the next court date should be about the second week in November, but we can mention that as it comes. And that's it.
There seems to be people that just want to continue, just keep beating that man up on that thread, and it's not a good look for them, you know.
Well, he also needs to stop commenting.
That's what I mean.
It is
to save this for court.
Yeah, then the more he keeps going, it doesn't look good, you know?
He's more worried about the court of public opinion than his actual court case. You could say things, and now it's in print. And there comes a time when you just really need to let your lawyers handle your case, and then come back and get your vindication if you are vindicated. Right. You know? But, yeah.
We'll see what happens.
Last week, we also told you about Olivia Spada. I'm trying to find it. That's why I'm a little. And she was going to be doing a public service announcement for Unity Day and against bullying. So that came out today. Her proud parents shared it. Let's go ahead and bring that to you. Such a cutie patootie.
Choose to stand up to bullies. Be bold, be different, be loud, and be proud. It's time to stop the hate and spread some love. We're all beautiful, we're all strong, choose kindness. Choose to stand up to bullies. Be bold, be different.
Oh, it's repeating. Okay. So that was her PSA that's going to be airing on ABC throughout the month of October, which is, it's not October, it's Breast Awareness Month. Breast Awareness Month. Breast Cancer Awareness Month.
We understood what you meant.
It's Breast Awareness Month. Yes, we have. Oh my goodness, what is wrong with me tonight? I can't function. My goodness. Okay.
But when my kids were little, when I was going through breast cancer all those years ago, and I would wear pink and the ribbons, and I used to explain to my kids when they were really little what the pink ribbon meant. So we all wore pink ribbons and whatever. And when the boys were little, every time we would see a pink ribbon when we were out, Georgie always used to say, "Look, it's breast support for mama." It was really cute. Breast support for mama.
This month is like a bunch of different things. If it's anti-bullying and breast cancer awareness, they have a lot of things going on. We also, Huntington had its homecoming last week. And it was really good. I don't know who set up the route, though. I heard a lot of people were not okay with the way that the street had been shut down. But the one thing that did happen is because it's an election year and we have a lot of people that are running for office, that means magically this is when all the money shows up for, I think last week we reported on Steve Stern, and he was giving the Tri-YCA money. And so this week we have Carl. He gave $300,000 to the Huntington School District.
What? He did?
Yes, $300,000.
Wow.
Yes, he did.
Wow.
Because it's a nice amount, and I'm glad to see that the schools are getting that type of thing, as well as the Tri-YCA. I'm glad to see it. We should have elections every month if this is how we get the money poured back into our community. I think it's all of a sudden everybody's handing all sorts of monies out. It's awesome how all those grants come in right before an election.
Magic.
Just like the veterans housing.
Just like the veterans housing.
It's magic, I told you.
Yep. 8 years later.
Bippity boppity boo.
Unreal.
Look at me. Look at me.
Look at all the money I was able to come up with here just at this one time. It's crazy.
I just found it. I was just digging through the seats in my couch, and look what happened.
Oh my God, poof. It's they all come in right at the end of October.
I know.
They must know, and they file for them in July on purpose.
Yeah. I agree with you. It's got a lot of extra funding all of a sudden.
Out of nowhere. So speaking of elections, last week we were saying that we were surprised how quiet it was. We were 13 days out from the election. It was really funny because right after, I think it was last week, after our show, I put up our video from exactly a year ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we were kind of saying the same thing, that we started getting in on when the negative campaigning came in. So let's start with our first video of the campaign ads. Dun, dun, dun.
When Joan Sergel resigned from the CDA, she left the agency over $1 million in debt to Huntington's taxpayers. Sergel made payments in the name of Huntington's biggest slumlord as part of the town's deal to purchase his blighted property and create luxury offices for her political allies on the taxpayer dime. Cozying up to slumlords and racking up $1 million in debt is Joan Sergel's legacy. We can't afford this career bureaucrat. Joan Sergel is the wrong direction for Huntington. Paid for by Huntington Republican Committee.
They put the wrong direction over her face. Did they use the dark photo? They always do that. Do you know a couple of years ago, my friend Rob Conti was running for office against Dr. Spencer?
Mm-hmm.
And on one of the flyers that Dr. Spencer had put out on them, they just used any random, it was not Rob. They used a picture of this guy that was bald, like Rob is. So they used the wrong guy on the flyer. It was the funniest thing. They do, though. They go and they get like the worst pictures that they can find of these candidates, and then they darken them, right? These tactics that they use, and they think that people are not stupid and they don't see this. It doesn't ever make me feel any differently about the candidate.
That I don't like. I don't like negative ads, period. I know this is politics. I get it. But if somebody was able to leave $1 million in debt and nobody said anything until now, all of Town Hall needs to be fired. Because I'm sure one person didn't make that decision.
No, they got to vote on all that stuff, don't they?
So to say that one person did it, and on the GOP's webpage, they're talking the luxury whatever office buildings that they're referring to is what used to be the enrichment center. Now, I know that I can be a little bit uppity at times. I admit it. I assure you, there's nothing in that HORC building right now that is luxurious. I mean, it's exposed brick. It has like a weird, funky smell, and it has like just cubicles thrown together.
Well, she was in charge of the CDA when we purchased that from Don Pius. That's who they're referring to, but they don't want to use his name because they're calling him a derogatory term. But the enrichment, that's where the Don Pius scholarship came from. I think they stopped accepting that because it became very controversial how, you know, he was running the housing, and this was during a period of time when we had a huge uptick in crime and all that other stuff. But you're right, Dina, it's where the enrichment center used to be. But that building was originally owned by Don Pius. In fact, the veterans housing that is currently being built was also purchased from Don Pius, and we purchased it well above the market rate. That's what they're alluding to in that, but they all knew we did it. She didn't do it underhanded. It wasn't hidden from anybody. And we all complained at the time that, why are we paying this much money? And it was $1 million for 2 homes that they ripped down, and that, you know, that how that area sat empty for 10 years, and that tax money did not go to the school. But that's a tactic that they use. Like Elizabeth Black, she had run for office a long, long time ago. And when they were running their negative ad campaign against her, what they did is they went down and they reviewed every year, because she was one of our school board members for Huntington, okay? So every year when they passed the budget, it'd be like 2%, 4%, whatever percent. They added up every year, and they said, oh, yeah, Elizabeth Black, she raised taxes 41% on the school district. Like, she single-handedly did this. No, she's not one of how many people that are on the school board and vote for this. And you know, we also have a thing called a cap. So it's the way that they word things. What's sad to me is I really like Jim Lennick, and I said this last year about another campaign, and this is what I'm saying it now. All this does is show that you're not in charge of your campaign. Well, actually, that clearly said it came from the Republicans and not Jim Lennick's campaign.
Right.
But it looks bad on him. You know what I mean?
He's whether it's said to him or not, he's the Republican running, and he's running against us. So unless you're a numbnuts and you can't put 2 and 2 together, you know what it's about.
Right.
And I agree with you. Lennick is a very nice man. I think that he is strong in certain points. However, I'm not comfortable with saying he would be adequate to sit in a town council seat. But I'm more concerned with that Leonick, Smith, Cook trio. That's my major concern. And for that purpose and that purpose alone, I may just actually go blue for the first time in my entire life.
That's okay. I'm going to cancel you out. I'm going all red.
I can't have that because this administration, when we started talking about diversity, everyone assumed that when I was talking about diversity, I was talking about color. I was talking about diversity as far as income. And it's clear to see that they cater to the wealthier part of the community. I'm not in that, I'm not in that bracket. I have 2 kids in college and 3 little ones coming up. So I'm just a working class person. That's it. That makes me nervous, that combination of those 3. And personally, I can't afford to have that.
Do you know of, or can you get your hands on a list of the demographics that are working for the town of Huntington? I would be curious. I would really like to see, instead of, I would really like to see how many employees work there, how many are women, how many are Black, how many are Hispanic, how many are white on a piece of paper. I would like to see what the demographics are. Not necessarily income disparity, because I think that that's really taking it too far, but I know that we bring up this topic a lot, and I would really like to have those numbers to be able to draw off and say, aha, see?
Well, right now I'm currently working on another project. So I have those numbers, but because of the project that we're working on, I can't really get into it, but everybody will know about it sooner or later. And um it is a huge discrepancy. I will say that. But I will allow you can foil it because that's what I did. And then, we just learned where to put the proper paperwork to what administration and what particular politician, and we're working on that. That's all I'll say about that. But the disparity is large, and why I bring up the income, I don't think it's too far. You hire a child, well, not a child, you hire someone making 120,000, but you then lay off three people that were making between 40 and 60,000 that has two kids in college or a kid in college or taking care of elderly parent. That's income disparity. That to me is, that needs to be said, and people need to understand that. So in order to accommodate the salaries that you now are requiring for your buddies and cronies, you're now cutting the salaries of everyday working class people. That's the community I'm a part of. So to me, that's very important. If you're making, all goobs gobs of money, how can you possibly understand the plight of a working class person? Let's be honest. I don't know what it's like to be rich because I'm not rich. So that's my concern with the entire thing. And I just don't see it ending well with those three together. But like you, I do like Leonick. I really do. I think he's a nice man, ultra polite, nice to have a conversation with, well-versed on certain topics. But I don't know if I would want him to be my town council person. That's just my take on it.
Again, I think there's going to be a lot of collateral damage from what's going on nationally. You know how we always sit around, we say, okay, you have to know who you're voting for. And we've gone, okay, and I'll even go on different party lines to send a message and that kind of thing. I'm hearing so many people, like you just said, that they're just either going to go straight blue or straight red.
Right.
And that's really going to impact the local people, and that collateral damage is going to hit them because they're already seeing. And I said this, I said this is going to be, this midterm will be record breaking.
Yep.
It's going to break the records as far back as the 70s. I think that was the Nixon one, right? It's gonna break the midterm turnout from then. Mark my words.
I agree. This is going to be monumental for many reasons. Many reasons. And the collateral damage will be astronomical, in my opinion. Because when you start talking about just going all blue and all red, I know for a fact you're not supposed to do that, and I've never done it.
Me neither. I'm doing it. I'm doing it.
But
I am just like you. I'm doing it.
I have to be. I don't know about you, or I don't know about Lisa, but I still have a mortgage on my house. I still have a car note to pay.
I still do too. Yeah.
I hope that my other three, I have two kids in college. I hope my other three children are able to achieve those same goals. I need to make sure the people that are representing me understand that. And I'm just not quite sure that an independent, wealthy white man will have that plight in his mind when he's making certain decisions. I'm sorry. That's how I feel. So to protect that and to protect their future, I have to do what I think is best, even though I'm a Republican to my heart, but I don't like the way the party's being represented, and it's like when you start doing these nasty commercials, it makes me even think about it even more.
I still think that you and Lisa need to just both switch parties. Lisa, you're a Democrat. Tina, you're the Republican. You guys just need to switch parties.
I don't agree with
I walked away and I'm walking all the way to the poll. I'm walking all the way to the voting booth.
No, I don't agree enough with the Democratic Party down the line. However, in this particular, and I vote according to what's going on in current time. However, for this particular election, it would be in my best interest to vote blue.
I think that I personally think, well, we were going to do our national show next week, but it's going to be Halloween, and we're still discussing whether we're going to come to you guys on Tuesday or not. I miss Tuesdays. Well, we had to switch because of marching band, and marching band's over for me now as of this weekend. But we'll let you guys know on our Facebook page if we're moving that date or not. Well, we're definitely not coming to you on Halloween. Oh, and speaking of Halloween, the town board meeting was, oh, this is actually a funny story. I didn't think it was going to be a funny story. So there was a town board meeting yesterday. And one of the things that came up, here, let me find this one because this is actually kind of funny. One of the topics that came up was that they are renaming our town for Halloween. They're going to call it Huntington. They voted to rename our town. And they did this because they got a letter from a little girl.
But what's the name going to be?
Oh, wait, they got a letter. I should say they got a letter from a little ghoul. Hauntington.
Oh, Hauntington.
Hauntington. Okay, look, right? Dear Supervisor Lupinacci, hello, my name is Angelica D. Cunningham. It's funny how they redacted her school district, but not her name, right? My name is Angelica D. Cunningham. I'm a student at blank, and I've lived in Huntington my whole life. One of the best things about Huntington is I know my whole life. Well, she's probably like 6, right? One of the best
kids.
I do too. I've known my mom my whole life. I've lived in Huntington my whole life. One of the best things about Huntington is the way we celebrate Halloween. I love getting dressed up, going into town and trick-or-treating with my friends. I think that October, Huntington should officially be called Hauntington. This would be fun to say for me, my friends, and all the citizens of Huntington. Thank you so much for reading my letter. So a funny thing happens, though. They put this out there. They vote, of course, totally unanimously, and they go back to the school board district that the little girl was said she was from, and nobody at the school district knows who this little girl is.
What?
Hey.
Why don't we have real ghosts?
We have real ghosts
Writing letters.
Uh-huh.
That's up Lisa's alley. Lisa likes all that crazy stuff.
I like that. She's a ghostwriter.
Yeah. Keep them ghosts at bay. Let them stay where they at.
And that
I'm going to get you Mount Misery soon enough.
Now, I only know that because the town's information director, Laura Lembo, put it out there on Facebook. If anybody knows who this little girl is, if you could let us know, please, because the school doesn't know who she is.
Wow, is all I have to say.
Yeah. Somebody pulled a fast one.
Peekaboo.
So on Halloween, we won't be here. And here won't be here either because it will now be Huntington.
You're a weirdo.
Hey, just
Be the media Hauntington.
be the media Huntington. Good one, Lisa.
Oh,
Very
great.
funny. I know where to go with this now. So speaking of little girls and young ladies, I want to just throw this young lady's face on our screen real quick because she's still missing.
Oh yeah.
And I always get
She
bothered.
went missing.
She's been missing since Diana Ramos. She was last seen October 10th. I believe she's a South Huntington student. She's 16 years old, and apparently this is the second time she's gone missing. She went missing this time last year. So I'm hoping that maybe it's just like a seasonal thing, and if she was found before, maybe yeah. Like if this is her pattern.
How long did she go missing?
I don't recall. It was an item that was up for discussion on, I think it was Citizens, was where they were discussing it.
Maybe she has seasonal blues.
That's what I think. Exactly, the seasonal disaffective disorder.
Yeah, they call it season. I think it's the term they use is seasonal blues, and People are really affected by that. It's
Yeah.
very interesting to find when you really read about those things. And I only know about it because my son, my oldest son, he gets seasonal blues, and we couldn't figure out. But yeah, the doctor said, the daylight changes. They can't do this. They can't do that. Especially, and he loves being outside. So that's sad. I hope if she has mental issues, I hope she was taking her medication.
Right.
And her parents probably should be aware of that, if it happened last year.
To kind of get ahead of it. We really, 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 I'm not saying that she's mentally ill.
No, we don't
say
know
that. But we really, really, really need to focus more on the mental health issues in our country. We really, really do.
Especially with our kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially with our kids. And it's funny you should say that. My son, my 14-year-old said to me, you're always talking about political this, you're always fighting this, you're always talking about equal rights. How come I never see you fighting for mental health? And I didn't know what to say. I was like, shut up and keep looking out the window. I didn't know what else to tell him. I was like, I don't know. But he's right,
Well, you want to think about, we were, you think about the where they're building all that housing now that used to be the big psych center.
Oh, at Pilgrim.
Pilgrim, thank you. Thank you for the words. Sometimes they escape me because I do use many words when we're here. But the Pilgrim Psych Center, it's immense. There's even underground trails there, and there's other psych centers. But there was a time when we closed them all, and it doesn't mean that the people who needed mental health went away. It means they have nowhere to go now.
And it means they go to a doctor and they're prescribed medication, and then they get hooked on drugs, and it just escalates from there. That's their fix. And then that ties right to the drug epidemic that we have today.
A lot of them have ended up on my Facebook page. They post things at me.
It's sad.
You missed the joke. That's fine.
I did. I try not to laugh because I don't want people to think I'm insensitive, so I try to go past it. And I'm just like, try to keep my eyes closed. Don't say anything. But it's sad. It's sad that they close it, because I think even now Pilgrim still has like 1,500 people on it. At least a few years ago, they still had residents on there. But what your point is absolutely correct, though. Just because you close those centers, now look at Pilgrim State. Pilgrim State, they had their patients on one side, and then they had their own doctors, or whatever, whoever lived there, the fire people, everybody on the other side. How big is that surrounding area? And it's like, what happened? Like you said, if it held all those people, they didn't magically, and
our population has increased since then.
Yeah.
A lot.
A whole lot.
Yeah.
You have these children that were once on medication to help them with their mood disorders that are now adults. They need some help.
Oh, speaking of adults on medication, did you watch the governor's debate last night?
Oh, God.
I think somebody needed to give him Ritalin. Seriously needed to give him Ritalin.
Somebody should have mentioned that it's anti-bullying month.
You know what? I think I'm gonna let everyone know. We're just gonna throw that up, the link for everybody. It only had 115 views last night when I was looking at it, but I do have the link, and we were listening to it, and the arrogance and just it was. I had never seen. I know Cuomo's arrogant. I know he's arrogant, but I'm so sick of politicians telling me how bad this guy is just so much worse than me. Stop telling me how bad that this guy's worse than me, and start telling me what you have done for me. What have you done for me? What have you done to address the SALT taxes that, in the tax plan? What have you done to address that? And a lot of other things. So I don't know. I know we're going to get him back. I know we can't outvote that voting block that we have in New York City. It's just too dense. So no matter what, we're going to get. New York is a hard state to crack, to ever get a Republican leaning governor.
Well, I mean, as far as that goes, I can understand why New York would not want to vote. New York City would not want to vote Republican, because I'm not if you, because I know you, both of you, been in New York City. Those folks are, they're hard Democrats,
hardcore liberals, yeah, liberal Democrats, progressive, very progressive.
Yeah, you don't see too many Republicans reaching out to them. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it will be hard.
The last time that New York went red was the second presidential election for Ronald Reagan.
Wow.
And Ronald Reagan, now that's the type of Republicans that, you think of. I know people don't like him. I know that, Reaganomics, all that. But some of us do, even though I was very, very, very young when he was the president. Those were the days when you wanted to be a Republican. Right now, not so much. At least for me.
I know, but not for me.
Right. You're independent. So
I'm not. I am and I want to tell you, let me tell you why they're getting the polling wrong. The left, the Dems or whatever, have never taken the time to understand who the Trump voter is. Never. They have, from day one, demonized us, called us names. Even today, I was debating about something that I'm called stupid. I'm called uninformed. I'm far from those things, and you know that. But because they never took the time to understand the Trump voter, they put out polling, right? And they say, oh, well, the Republicans, and they're all Republicans, and then the Democrats. So they were still polling the Republicans and the Democrats. And they're not understanding that the Trump base is largely people who, first-time voters, who gave up voting, who have left both parties, who aren't going to be anybody who's being called under these two lines. They're a whole different breed of what the traditional polling used to represent. So when they're running these polls, I just laugh and laugh, because the never Trumpers came from the Republican Party. You're still calling the Republicans and saying, well, he doesn't even have the support in his own party. Well, he never did. That's why when I say that, when people say, well, they have the House, they have the Senate, they have all this, they should be getting more done. They truly don't have the Senate. They don't. Look at Jeff Flake. He's a Republican. He's totally against everything Trump does. So, you look at those things and you put it all together, and it's why the polling is off, because they never took the time to understand the Trump voter. They were so busy demonizing this person because they could not accept the fact that they lost the election. The only way to understand it is we all have to be, I'm racist, I'm a Nazi, I'm a white supremacist, and they really have to drop that use of the Nazi thing. It's just such an insult to the Jews and the Holocaust, and it's so crazy. Come up with a different boogeyman, because that doesn't work. It does not work. And they don't even see how demeaning that is to our Jewish people.
Well, what I will say is this. I don't agree with people associating or disassociating with someone because of who they voted for. However, I have witnessed even some people who, I would consider a friend, saying things that I'm just, and it gets called to the carpet, and the way they word it, it seems very racist at best, because of how they word it, and because the climate now is ultra sensitive about anything. Then we have the issue. Then that's when the racist part comes in. I don't agree with calling people names and doing all this. You vote for who you think is best. If you think Trump was best for you, then that's who you vote for. I don't have to agree with it, and I don't have to like it, but that doesn't mean that I have to sit there and call you all kind of names. But then some of Trump's supporters bring it on themselves for how they behave. So to me, I straddle the fence when it comes to that, and I try to stay away from too much of that back and forth. What is going on with the dog?
Yeah. Go. Sorry.
What are you doing?
She's rolling over and putting her feet up on my new couch, and she's going to scrape it. And we cannot have that because this is the first couch I've ever had in my life. My first new couch. Every other piece of furniture has been dragged off the street in my minivan to my home or given to me from a friend. And so you can understand why this is the economy I want to keep.
Yeah, I mean, if you're doing well, like I said, if you're doing well, right? If Trump, for every person that says Trump is doing well for the economy, for every 10 people, I'm sure I can find 10 other people that say opposite.
But my husband's job is very dependent on other people doing well, because if other people in the economy are not doing well, they are not doing home improvements.
I mean, again, you can get your people to say that they're doing well financially, and I'm sure I could find 10 people to say that they're not doing well financially. It all depends on how you look at it, how you cut it. But at the end of the day, I think that the whole thing with Trump is overplayed. I'm sorry. I think that he does things for the wow factor and people feed into it. I've never met any president that everyone liked.
So with 3.7% record low unemployment numbers, you don't think more people being employed builds the country's wealth?
What I will say is, when it comes to statistics, I need to see where those statistics came from.
That's coming from the Bureau of Labor.
I need to see who was scanned in those statistics. I need to look at the hardcore facts. Now, are you going to compare it to people upstate New York, or are you comparing it to people in New York City? No, the
Bureau of Labor is a national average of.
I would still have to see who did it. I would want to see what was the ethnic backgrounds of who was surveyed and how many people were surveyed. So if you have 30 people that live in this place and you only surveyed 10, what about the other 20 people?
Well, it's interesting because it was MSN who had run a poll about how people were going to be voting, and they're very liberal news source, and it was on Facebook, and there was 27,000 people participated in the online Facebook poll, and it was a 75 red, 35 blue. And I look at some of the polls, like when CNN or whatever, because I watch them all. They put something out, and I'll go and I'll look at the polling data, because I'm like you. I want to see what what's the proof in the pudding. And they're polling like 1,000 people. That's not a snapshot at all, at all. So when they had this poll up on Facebook, I was like, that's pretty astounding, because there's 27,000 people participated in it. But it's hard to trust the social media people also, because there's so many fraudulent accounts.
Exactly.
But they had to pull that down.
Yeah. Again, I don't think there's ever been a presidency that everybody liked. You could come up with your facts and everything else, but it goes according to how the other person is thinking about it, I guess.
There's been a 400% increase in Black ownership of businesses.
Now, you say that, and now I belong to a young Black professional group on Long Island. And I know within our 50 people that we know, they haven't gotten any businesses. So where has that ownership taken place? And it's not that they haven't tried to achieve it. They just haven't been able to get it for various reasons. So again, with the statistics like that, and I see the people in front of me, like I see 50 people, and some of them haven't gotten what they wanted to get as far as business goes.
Well, let me ask you this.
I find that hard to believe.
How many people do you know in your life that were a hardcore Trump supporter and voted for him in 2016 that are now saying to you, I can't vote for this man again? I just can't do it.
There's a few. What I will say is that my friend range is large. I don't get into all that. I can't talk to you because of I'm not into that. What I will say is that some of my Republican buddies definitely feel as though it's his tactics and it's how he does things and his lack of diplomacy. Those things they still revere those type of politicians. So I mean, there's some, I don't know the statistics. I'm not that kind of person. I'm not going to sit back and be like, well, would you vote for him again? That's your business.
No, you would be hearing them say that. That's what I'm saying. I'm seeing more people that did vote for him digging in hardcore. And that's what I do not, and I see more like with the walkaway movement, I see more people coming to this side. I don't see the shift that you're seeing. I mean, we're going to find out soon enough whose antenna is more tuned in to what's happening, because the election's in 13 days. And I know Trump isn't on the ballot, but he's on the ballot.
I don't think we'll ever see the true. We are from two different sides, and my side, I doubt will ever agree with your side. That's just how human nature is, in my opinion. They view the world and they view the current status of this country very differently from what your side is seeing. But again, if your side is benefiting and you're reaping the benefits, and you can say, oh, I got this and I have this increase, I have that increase, and this one is doing that, and this one's business is prospering, of course you would feel that way.
But when he was elected, he only had 17% of the Black community's support. He now has over 35%.
I don't know where those numbers came from, because it is a strong Black following against him. So I would definitely like to see where they got that from. Not saying that it's not true, but I would like to see, because I could tell you, my family from both sides.
I'm definitely going to come with the statistics on next week's show.
Yeah. And I would like to know where,
I will. I'm going to walk you
through. If you're talking about people like Kanye West, he hasn't been Black for a long time. People like Omarosa, those people, yeah, they were voting for him and they were all for him until he did something they didn't like. Now he's bad. Now he uses the N-word. If he was saying that, he's been using the N-word.
He still hasn't released the tape. And Omarosa, that nonsense started because she took her wedding party down to the White House to take photos, and she got in trouble with the chief of staff, John Kelly, over that. That's how that whole thing started.
But my point is, you were riding hard for this guy. You were a diehard Trump supporter. Now, because you have friction, now you want to bring it in. Stop it. Nobody believes you. Nobody cares. You want to say now?
And not for nothing, Dina. If she really had the N-word on some sort, where's the tape? You've been talking about dropping the tapes for how long? Where's the tape? It should have been the first one you let.
And where is she now?
Where's what?
Where's Omarosa now?
She's selling her book. That's why she came out with all the garbage, was to get that. And the one thing I really hate about Fox News now, why is everybody selling a book? Every single person is selling a book. Is there that much money to be made with these books? Because I need to write a book.
No.
I'm going to write a book.
I just, so people like that, I have no use for them. She hasn't been Black for a long time, so,
Wait, you don't get to take away their Blackness because you don't
we do.
with them. You guys got your color.
That has not. She wasn't Black, but way before Trump.
Lisa, you can't be white anymore. You got too much privilege. I'm revoking the white girl card.
This was way before Trump. We took her out. Before.
Wait. This is a thing? Are you serious? You guys?
Yes, we revoked Black cards. Yes, you didn't know? You better ask somebody. We say we will trade, Gary Owens, the white comic, for Omarosa. Or we'll trade Tommy from.
Do you take anybody in? Can I be Black? Can I identify? I want to be Black for the day.
I'm gonna ask.
Okay. I just want a black card for the day, and I'm going to identify that guy as a man, so I can be a black male and as well hung as I walk around the biggest balls ever, because I do. So yes, give me a black card.
Wait, remember that game show?
What?
Remember that game show way back in the day, Queen for a Day?
Yes.
Yeah, we could. What about black for a day, white for a day?
What was that in living color? 3 snaps in a Z formation.
I can't. I
In
cannot.
the circle. No, we gotta go in.
I can dance. Kind of. My kids don't think I can dance. So.
I can't. I can't even deal with you right now.
And I know a lot of lyrics to the old rap songs, which really just screws with my friends at the gym, because like the song comes on and I like know all the words. And who are you? I'm like, yes, I love Biggie Smalls. He was my favorite. I love it when you call me.
I can do Soldier Boy.
See? I have some blackness in me. Yes, if you find that you're revoking somebody's card this week, just I'll take it for the day. There's a lot of things I would accomplish in that day.
I can't. I have nothing else to say because I'm gonna get so much flack for that comment.
Oh, and
I'm just gonna say
started on the overwhelming amount of white privilege I just have oozed my whole life when I was
run
on
a contest in Huntington.
People
Run a contest.
There's this one guy that was making all these derogatory comments to me, and he was saying, "Oh, well, you've lived in a gated community, and you this and that." Now I'm 46 years old. I've worked for everything I have here, but people don't know me. There was a time when I was a statistic. I was teen pregnancy, young, 16, on assistance. I had my WIC card for women, infant, and children. I've actually spent food stamps and gone down to the office and lived in poverty. I lived in poverty, but people see me where they know me here now. And so there's all sorts of assumptions as who they believe I am based upon where I am. And it's just not even the reality of who I was raised up as I grew up, where I came from. And I always hate that because I worked my ass off for everything I have in my life. And there's people who assume that, I somehow just, this just happened to me because I'm white, I guess. Stupid. Mm-hmm. It's so stupid. I hate the whole state of race in America, right? It's just so dumb. Because I have all sorts of friends. And you know what? If you're not a jerk and you're not completely mentally crazy, I'll be your friend. I love all sorts of people. You know me. I'll talk to anybody all the time. And I don't need to know their sexual orientation. I don't need to know their color. I don't need to know, who they're having relations with. None of that is a factor for me when I'm deciding whether I am having a good time with somebody.
I mean,
I agree.
Identity politics that's what's really killing the Democratic Party right now. Identity politics. And they don't even realize it, I think.
I just, what I will say is, okay, I'm coming. Yeah. I'm sorry, guys, for the interruption.
No, you had said you probably had to pop out at 8:50 and you're like 2 minutes off the mark.
What I will say this though, and I'm gonna, I know people will be offended, but if you
offend them, just offend them.
If you know me, I don't really. I just say what I have to say. There are very few people that are like you, and they're genuine in their endeavors to embrace other cultures. You have a lot of people that you associate with that claim to be that way.
Oh, yeah.
And they are totally different. And they say the most outrageous things. And then as soon as you say something to them to combat it, oh my God, how could you say that? Because I've stayed quiet for so long while you pretended. Now it's time to bring it to the light. You know, so that's where the problem goes. And I think that's one of the reasons why you and I have always been able to talk freely, and people think that we argue because we go back and forth. Often it's always respectful. We never had a problem. But there's too many of your friends that claim to be the same way, and they're the total opposite. And it's like, you don't get the pass because you're not genuine. You jump on Jenny's bandwagon and you carry on. And people are tired of that. And people see it. And if I see it, you know, I'll be like, listen, your friend got the business the other day because of that. But that's another story.
Oh, you'll have to tell me later which one.
So it's like, that's when you have the problem. You know what I mean? I could accept you for what you have to say, because I know in my heart, and I've had several closed meetings with you, where your heart is at. You know, I know, and I tell anybody, Jenny is a great person, but it's not enough people like you that are genuine.
I know. Well, there's really no one like me.
Yeah, thank God, because we only can deal with one.
It would be too much.
I would go crazy.
Yeah.
But you know, I love you. I do.
Yeah.
I love you.
That's why I'm canceling out your vote, because I'm going to save you.
Don't save me for these crazy.
You may not like this man, but he's saving America. That's why I laughed when they put that stuff up about Hitler and stuff, and I'm like, this man is giving everybody a lot of liberty back for Hitler. You know?
You know what? Also,
lowering taxes and stuff. So Hitlerish.
But you know what else is a problem? The fact that people he's changing a lot of things that made people comfortable, or attempting to change, like that whole LGBT thing and the gay marriages and all that. No,
that I've heard. I listen to all that stuff. You know me, I'm obsessed.
Right.
There's nothing been said about LGBTQ at all. The only thing that he has said is that the military, with the transgender policy, whenever they're undergoing the surgery, because you just can't have soldiers that are deploying and are on all these meds, because there's a lot of requirements, a lot. Like you can't have asthma and join. There's a list of things you cannot do. So you can imagine how unfair it is to make an exception to the rule because somebody wants to change their gender. Then you have to make a choice because you signed up. So either you unenlist and you have to decide what's more important, because these are the rules. The rules don't change because you want to be special.
I know. Listen. I agree with some of the things he has to say in regards to immigration and things like that. And I've always been honest about that. And I still toed the line when it comes to that. And I believe the same thing. When you're fighting for my country, I need you to understand which side you're on. Okay? I don't need you to have questions like that. So I think he's right with certain things. But what I do think is that people take what he's trying to say and switch it.
Oh, there's radicals on there's good people on both sides, Dana. Yeah. I think there's radicals in every society, and that goes back to the whole mental health issue. But just because there's a crazy Trump person out there doesn't mean that they're representative of every person who voted for him.
Yeah, and I think what happens is that that's what people think.
Yeah, they do. And they're all the same.
Yeah, they lump it together. I just saw a commercial in regards to, it's a famous comedian that does like these improv shows, and he's like, well, what do you think about Donald Trump? And he's like, I hate him, he's the worst thing, he's trying to take back the civil liberties of transgender people. And I'm like, I don't think that's what he said. But so they take, the little excerpts that they may read, and it's not the truth. And that's where the problem happens.
Well, I think the problem also is we have a media now that's extremely speculative. And then when their speculation doesn't take fruit, they turn around and say, well, Trump's a liar. It's like, so people just keep screaming, he lies, he lies, he lies. But they can't even back that up and say specifically what. I've tried to even gently coach this out of people. And by coaching that, what I've been trying to get them to understand is, where did you originally hear that it was a lie, and what was it in relation to? Let's break it down, because what we're really looking at is a media that is completely out of control and speculating day in and day out, and they're getting everybody whipped up.
I mean, you have a point. What can you say?
It saddens me, because there's some people that I just really care about, and I just know they've fallen for a false narrative. And now that Brennan, who used to he's a guest on, is he MSNBC or CNN? I think he bounces between both of them, but he's lost his security clearance, so he no longer has an inside skinny. So there's speculations getting worse, whereas before they were intentionally leaking stuff.
Right.
The leaks have stopped, and now they don't have the inside story to what was going on. So now when they go and they do the news and they're speculating, they're really off, because they don't have that tapped into information.
I mean, yeah, I could see that. I could see that. I'm sorry, you know, I know I'll get a lot of flack for saying that, but I could honestly see that. That doesn't seem far-fetched. I mean, this whole thing is a little crazy to me, you know, but I would definitely agree with what you just said, 100%. They need to get back to regular politics. Like, let's talk about things that are of importance.
Yes.
Not all this other.
Oh my God, our president made a typo on Twitter. Like, and the same people who hate that he's on Twitter, then get off Twitter. He's not going away.
Yeah. Or delete him. Or remove him.
Block him. You blocked me. Block him. I know. I know I've been blocked. It's okay. It's actually sad, because I put up a lot of good information, and people are really missing out on that, because they're upset about what they consider like personality traits that they don't like. And they're listening to a news that just drills it in. He lies, and they walk away, they go, yes, he lies. And they're missing out on, like the Clean Up Our Oceans Act. Hello, that is amazing. Yep. You can't find one thing that you like with this administration, then you have a problem. I had this one woman, and I love her too much to say her name, who said, I hate him. If he was to find the cure for autism, I would still hate him. That is blind hatred. That is blind hatred. That from that point on, anything you now say is just negated down to blind hatred, because you don't have an open mind.
Now that's foolish. I mean,
and why do they hate him so much? Why? Why do they hate
the
him
media
so much?
24 hours a day, 7 days a week, points out reasons why they should.
People are entitled to their opinion. I don't get into why people hate. I mean, if you hate somebody you never met, I don't know. You could dislike them, but to hate them, that's...
Lisa met him. Lisa worked for him.
I met him.
Did he grab anything?
I'm done.
No.
I'm done.
He did it.
Done.
You know what's funny, too? I'd like to point something out with that. Everybody repeats, grab him by the beep, grab him by the beep. You know what they always leave off of that?
Right.
The full quote. There are women who will allow you to grab them by your genitalias if you're a star, and that's.
But I'm saying that I didn't grab him either to use it against him.
That's a gold digger. I mean, they've made songs about it. We all know there are women out there that will let men do anything if they got a lot of money. That's true. And that story was largely about Trump taking that woman couch shopping, and I went back and listened to it. I'm like, the only thing they ever repeat is those 3 words, and they always leave off, there are women who will allow you. So now you have a bunch of people running around.
3 words? 3 words?
Yeah, hung like a mushroom. But they were saying that you know, they say that he has admitted to sexual assault in that audio tape, and that's completely untrue. So now one of the questions I get asked a lot is, well, would you let your daughters anywhere near him? Like, yes, I would, because I don't believe the false narrative that he did that. And I just don't. So, well, this was fun. I guess we did our national one early. Goodness, I didn't mean to do that. We missed a couple of subject matters, and we're going to have to drop off the air because Dana's got somewhere to go, and we have reached our 1 hour mark. But we're going to let you guys know we're probably going to come to you Tuesday. We're not coming to you next Wednesday. It's Halloween in Huntington, and the kids will be trick-or-treating in Huntington. It's so silly. So on that note, we hope everyone enjoyed tonight's Huntington View. Say goodnight, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Dana, don't. She got you.